You are now tuned in to the Expert Advice for Men podcast. For more information, visit us at www.expertadviceformen.com. And here is your host, Billtown Radley.
Guys, first I want to start by saying thank you for the amount of support for the podcast and Instagram page. Since starting our launch a few weeks ago, we've doubled our podcast downloads and have seen a large increase of Instagram followers and likes. So keep on sharing our podcast, Instagram page. We're also on Facebook and Twitter, and we'll keep creating great content that matters to you. Today, I'm holding up my promise to deliver another informative weekly podcast episode because today we're talking about men's hair loss. Yes, we're going there. Now, you're probably thinking, Radley, I've seen it all from bad toupees, chemicals like Rogaine and Propecia, hair plugs, and even hair transplants that leave that telltale scarring on the back of your head. Yes, you've probably heard it all, but have you heard of scalp micropigmentation? If you haven't heard of SMP, or you have, and perhaps you're considering it, I want you to pause this podcast right now and go onto Instagram and follow Ink Barber. Then come back to this podcast. Yes, do this now, pause it, and go onto Instagram and follow Ink Barber. We'll be waiting. Welcome back. Did you have a chance to see Ink Barber's before and after photos? Incredible, right? Today's expert is Shannon Liddell, owner of Ink Barber in Langley, BC, Canada. See, we go international to get you guys the best information. Shannon's going to share his expert advice on all things scalp micropigmentation, along with costs, timeframes, and share his business philosophy and answers to our E4Q. Now, what's the E4Q? You got to listen till the end, but you guys are in for a real treat. So here's Shannon Liddell, owner of Ink Barber in Langley, beautiful British Columbia, Canada. So guys, we've got Shannon Liddell from Ink Barber in Langley, British Columbia, Canada, about 40 minutes away from Vancouver, Canada. And he's going to talk to us about scalp micropigmentation, or SMP as it's known by. Good morning, Shannon. How are you?
Yeah, good. How you doing?
We're doing very good. Very good. So our podcast aims to tie our audio with your visuals. So guys who are listening, make sure you add Ink Barber on Instagram so you can see the amazing work we're about to talk about. So first off, Shannon, with each guest, we like to interview people from all age ranges because I believe men can learn from young men, older men, men our age. So how old are you, my friend?
I think I fall somewhere in the middle. I'm a 38-year-old man.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. So scalp micropigmentation, in your words, how would you describe SMP?
It is a form of cosmetic tattoo where we're putting tiny amounts of pigment into the skin to replicate hair follicles. It can be used for bringing back a hairline or restoring density. If someone's a bit thin on top, it's a bit of a magic trick, really.
Excellent. So when did SMP first come to be known?
That's kind of up for debate. I feel like every second provider in the world claims they started it. I think firstly it came from the UK maybe about 10 years ago. So yeah, there seems to be more artists in the UK than anywhere. Or originally, it's getting pretty popular everywhere now.
So what is your background? Are you a tattoo artist by trade?
No, I never was. I've been traveling the world. I was actually in construction to start with back in the day, and I've been cruising around and ended up in Canada about 13 years ago, and then off and on, of course. And then when my wife got into cosmetic tattoo, I decided I wanted to enter into something like that as well. Being that I have a family history of hair loss, and it really interested me because I was like, I found out this was a thing, and I was like, wow, that's something we can do. Automatically, I was just really interested in it, and I found the studio she was working at, Kyle, who's my business partner now, was offering the service and wanting to get out of it as their studio got busier. So I kind of trained and took over from him.
My wife is actually a big fan of her microblading and follows her. That's actually how I found you guys here.
Oh, right. Yeah. So she's downstairs is Studio Sashiko, which is kind of world renowned for doing eyebrows. They were one of the first to be really good at microblading. So they have clients traveling in from around the world every day of the week. And they have 6 or 7 artists down there now. I started in Studio Sashiko. And once I got to a point where it was very busy and we wanted to expand, we just ran out of room. So we started a second studio, which is actually the top level upstairs in the same building from them. Yeah, and then we've already doubled in size since we moved up there.
That's excellent. So how long has Ink Barber been in the business itself there?
Well, I've been doing it since 2015. Ink Barber has been there only about 2 years now, or no, a year and a half now, since we moved it from downstairs to upstairs into the new space. We moved upstairs, we had 1,000 square feet, and then we quickly expanded, took down the space next to us, and now we're at 2,400 square feet, 3 artists, so it's pretty good.
And I've looked at your Instagram and on your website. The space is gorgeous. It's a beautiful space and very welcoming. So who are the most common clients you would see going to your shop for SMPs?
It's a really interesting mix. When I first got into it, I thought, okay, we're just going to have your classic guy who's completely bald, just rocking the cul-de-sac and shaving it off kind of thing. And we're going to be filling in the whole top of the head. That doesn't even make up for 50% of the cases we see. Surprisingly, half our clients are women. And we're doing this as a density exercise in these areas above the temples. When they put the hair up, can look a bit thin in there. And nowadays it's pretty fashionable or pretty sought after to have a really good looking thick hairline. And it's become really popular to fill those areas in too. So typically when guys are getting it done, the average client is a guy maybe in his early 30s to mid 30s, late 30s kind of thing, who's been, noticed he's been thinning out a bit in top. Maybe he's receding and he's already shaving it down to like, number 1 or 0 kind of thing. And he's like, all right, I want to bring this back. I'm not feeling great when I look in the mirror. So that's something we can kind of just recreate the hairline, and you'd never know it's SMP. We just slowly fill it in over multiple sessions. It's pretty cool.
Right. And I'm 42 myself. So full disclosure, on my age. And I noticed as I put product in my own hair as I get older, I have a pretty good amount of hair, but you're right. As you put the gel in, you could actually see as you get older, it's just not as thick as it used to be, right?
That's everyone, that's the funny thing. It's one of those things people don't talk about for some reason with guys and hair loss, but that's why it's different to with, say, someone's getting their eyebrows worked on with cosmetic tattoo. They'll tell everyone that they're going to get it done. They're happy to get it done. They'll brag about getting it done.
Right.
But when it comes to hair loss, no one tells anyone they're getting it done. They don't want to know about it. They're just like sneak under the radar, and it's not something that people are really open about yet. So, which is, we'd like to change that. I'd love for guys to be a bit more open about, hey, I didn't like something, so I just improved it.
And that's what this podcast offers to do. We want to present these types of interviews. So men our age or gentlemen in general who have hair loss aren't ashamed or scared to do. I figure if you've lived this long, you have a great job, you have a great career, you've met all those challenges physically. Why not? Like you said, women are proud about their microblading. Absolutely. Men shouldn't be scared about looking for solutions.
Exactly. I mean, it's self-improvement, right? Like anything else, if you had a problem in your life and you don't like something, fix it. And this is no different. It's just, there's that stigma where guys don't want to talk about it. And we even notice that too with like our social media, because it's a business account. I mean, I can see how many people are seeing the posts and checking for it and looking at it, but nobody wants to with SMP. Nobody wants to follow you or like, because then their friends are going to see that they're looking
we're going to change that. We're going to change that.
Yeah, slowly I do feel like it's coming around. I mean, people just need to be open about it. It's a really cool process. And I mean, if you can fix something that bothers you when you're looking in the mirror and it's getting you down confidence wise, then why not?
And I was going to ask you about that. So say you have a gentleman who's done your work. I'm sure they come back and tell you it changes the way they feel, their confidence levels go up.
Yeah, it's super common. I mean, that's one of the best parts of the job. I mean, the best part of what I do is these reactions from people and being able to change the way they feel about themselves. And often you get the first session out of the way, and people coming in are a little bit apprehensive. They don't know what to expect, and when they look in the mirror and they see themselves and they're like, oh damn, they got a bit of a hairline coming back, and it looks, they can never tell. They're just like, oh, how did you do that kind of thing? That's what makes it great. You do have the special cases where it might be someone with full blown alopecia or something like that who has no hair follicles in their body. Then it's a life changer. And there's, scarring and stuff like that. A lot of our clients have had hair transplants and ended up with a scar, like a linear scar around the back of their head that they're really not happy about, and they're more self-conscious about that than they were about the hair loss to begin with. So you're kind of able to fix both things in that case.
So with SMP, you can also make follicles to go over scars and.
Yeah, when you see a scar through hair, it's a lot like any area where there's no density. I mean, it just goes from, especially when people have dark hair, you'll see like a light line where there's this lineal scar around the back of the head. And if you didn't know, that's where they take the grafts from in the older style of hair transplants, to actually take a piece of skin out and left a big scar around the back of your head. They I think a lot of the surgeons say that, oh, you'll never know the scar's there, but some of them are like extremely obvious.
Right.
So it appears as like a white line almost under dark hair. So to bring that down so it's not so obvious, we kind of replicate the hair around it, and then it just fills that area so that when people look at you from across the room, they're not seeing this white line, because it's a bit of a telltale sign these days. A lot of people know what that scar is.
And you have those types of before and afters on your Instagram.
Absolutely. Yeah. On our Instagram, and we give people an option when they sign in, whether we're okay to post the photos. Sometimes, especially in cases like that, they don't necessarily want the photo, even though we're not showing the face. They're like, what if someone recognizes the back of my head? Kind of thing, right? Yeah, no, we've got plenty of cases of that. And honestly, of the male clients I see, I'd say almost 50% have had a hair transplant, and I'm fixing it. I'm either adding density or I'm fixing the scar, or more likely both.
Say I'm a gentleman, I'm sold, I want to get this done. I'm 42 years old. Yep. I go in for an initial consultation. What's involved with an initial consultation?
Just go over the process with everyone. When I talk about what's involved, tell them that, it's a multi-session thing. It's not just one and you're done. You come in a few times. Think of it as like, the analogy I've been using lately is like, it's like painting a wall. Every time you do it, you get better coverage and you get a better finished result. So we let it heal. We go back over it again. We do that a few times until we reach full density. So I go over that process with them, how it all works, how the session works. Most people, they're coming in thinking it's going to be some highly invasive thing, but it's honestly, they're sitting there watching Netflix. It's more like a trip to the barbershop, which is kind of where our name comes from. It's a pretty chill session. We like to just come up with a plan of attack for everybody, because everyone's completely different. I mean, they don't all want the same thing either. So we got to establish, what we can get out of their situation and how we can help them out. Really just come up with a plan of attack. And, I like to just, in the consult stage, just give everyone the information and let them make the decisions on what they want to do, and, give them recommendations.
That's excellent. So I assume you use all the proper sterilization techniques.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, these days, when you want to be a reputable studio, you've got the health board through every once in a while doing the inspections. I actually have I think I could probably say I have one of the health inspectors as one of my clients. So, I really got to be on point.
Yeah, that tells everything right there when you have your clients there. So what is the difference between going to Ink Barber and your average tattoo artist down the street?
Yeah, I mean, it is a different thing. I mean, it's kind of like getting an artist to paint your house, Okay. It's similar, but not really the same. You have a different set of needles. You're using extremely small needles that are manufactured typically just for SMP. They're a lot smaller than what tattoo artists would use. Pigments are different as well, because we don't like pigments that contain anything like an iron oxide that might be able to change to a different hue over time. So we got to use a lot safer inks, so charcoal-based pigments and stuff like that. It is a little different, and the depth you work at and the whole way you do things is a lot more methodical with SMP, because you're trying to get this perfect even coverage. And the real difference between working, regular tattoo artists and what we do is that they're doing this work, this bold work, and they want everyone to know they did this work. Our goal is to have nobody know we did this work, right?
Yeah, that's a good
so
point.
We're going to be very soft with our depth and very, make sure things feel beautifully subtle. We're not trying to grind these heavy lines into the skin and, hey, look at me, because at the end of the day, we have kind of the same goal as our clients. I mean, we don't want anyone to know that they had SMP. We just want them to know that they look better.
And I could imagine, like you said, this is what you guys do. You guys don't do art pieces. You don't do tattoo sleeve. This is the work you do. It's specialized, and this is. So that makes sense. So
that's something people really need to look for if they're thinking about getting SMP wherever they are, is that, have a look at your artist's work, and the person who specializes in that's all they do all day long, every day. I mean, they're most likely going to be the better artist. I don't think there's too many tattoo shops per se, but there are a lot of people who offer like multiple services kind of thing, and they do it once in a while. You really want to look for the people who do it day in, day out, and have seen absolutely everything before, so you're not the first type of case like this,
Right. And you are on your website, you also provide training. Is that locally or also online?
No, it's just locally. We do a course every once in a while. We'll be doing another one later this year. We used to do it every month, but we've got to fit clients in as well. We run a course. Typically it's for people who are already cosmetic tattoo artists and want to learn a new skill. So they'll come in, they'll spend some days with us. We take on live models. It's pretty intensive. We do it over a few days, and then we provide them all the equipment and everything like that as well. So that's part of the fee. And yeah, we've had some really great results. It's really cool to see people that you trained and good luck with it kind of thing. And then you see them getting results and they're starting to get busy with clients. It's awesome. I mean, I'd say the majority of people we train are from the US. There are some Canadian people as well, but because it's a few days, a lot of people will just fly in, spend some time with us, and then fly out and take it back to wherever they come from.
Wonderful. And you said it all depends on the situation and what the client is looking for, is how many sessions it takes. So say for myself, I want to just get a little fill in. Maybe I have a little less density. How many sessions would you say that would take, and how long are each session?
Usually I'd say 3. If it's a typical, like, just all over top density, you allow a few hours per session. I think that we're working through the hair, so it is a little bit more time consuming for that reason. It's kind of like running through the forest versus running through an open field. You've got to work through the part lines and fill in everything and get it looking right. Once it heals and we see how that pigment heals in your skin, because everyone heals a little bit differently, then we can make the call on whether we go deeper, whether we add more. But that's the thing with SMP, because it is such a subtle thing and we want to bring it back and not have things look heavy. You can always add more. You can't take away, right? So we start a little bit more conservative with everything we do, and then we build it up over the follow-up sessions once we know how that person heals this with that pigment, because everyone's skin is a little bit different and we don't want to find out the hard way that we went too deep or things look too heavy.
So a client can expect to see visible results immediately.
Instantly, yeah. I mean, first session, they'll be looking in the mirror at the end. If it's a guy, say with a clean shaved head, and he comes in and we start building up that hairline, he'll be looking in the mirror and be like, "Ooh, I see a little something." Then round 2, he's like, "Oh, whoa, hey." And then 3, he's just high-fiving you on the way. I mean, there's a really visible difference in the confidence of the people as they come in. They get that back, and it's really cool having them in for the follow-up sessions, actually, because they already know what to expect. They know it's not going to look crazy. They're just happy to get it done and excited.
Yeah, and I could only imagine the confidence and how they feel afterwards. That must make you feel awesome also. So if it is multiple sessions, how many days or months or weeks would be spread apart between each session?
Yeah, well, ideally 10 days to 2 weeks between sessions. It's a really quick healing process because it's very tiny in sessions. So incisions, they heal like a paper cut very quickly. Give it 4 or 5 days, but then we give it an extra week just to make sure that the pigment goes through that change, where if it is going to lighten up a little bit, we want to see that to make sure that we're going dark enough for the next session. So typically in a perfect world for our schedule, everyone would just schedule 2 weeks apart at the same time kind of thing. And a lot of people do that because of their work schedule. They might come in on a Friday afternoon and then every second Friday afternoon until it's done. So usually the 3 sessions, and then we'll get them back after that for just to see them and make sure the third session healed correctly. And if they need a little more, then we'll just do that at that time.
How much does each session cost?
It depends. If you can imagine, well, let's say a guy who has a clean shaved head and he wants a full head done, it could be anywhere between about $2,400, $3,400 kind of thing.
And this
including all the sessions.
And this is Canadian for
Canadian, yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know what that is in the US. I mean, I think it's about $1.30 or something.
Yeah,
or
something like
I'm
that.
not sure. We Canadian dollars buys 75 US cents.
So your number one question after that is, does it hurt?
No, we actually numb the skin first. To be honest, it wouldn't really hurt even if we didn't numb. But we use a numbing cream. We use a product called Zensa from Alera Skincare. Fantastic product. We leave it on for half an hour. It's just a cream, and it just deadens the skin a little bit. It contains a lidocaine, which it just takes the edge off anything you're doing in the skin. And as an extra bonus, it kind of keeps the skin a little bit calmer, which for what we do is nice because there's less redness because we're putting thousands of tiny little pricks into the skin. It keeps the skin a little calmer too. So if there's less blood flow there, it just generally heals better, and it's not the blood isn't coming up and competing for space. Right. I want to scare you by saying blood because we very rarely. To be honest, in an average week, I wouldn't even see blood. We're not going that deep into the skin like a regular tattoo where we're getting little drips or anything like that.
So I can imagine the aftercare is much easier. As you said, you can do these sessions. I remember when I've gotten tattooed, it would start peeling and you'd have to wrap saran wrap around your arm.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare sometimes.
Do you have to have that situation when it comes to SMP?
Luckily, no. Because the incisions are quite tiny, and I mean they're really tiny. You won't even notice it heal. Like for the most part, in the first 4 days, it's healed. The worst thing I've heard is that someone was a little itchy on day 3, but there's not enough of a flake in the skin to even see it. It's that small. So if it does happen, they'll probably just have a shower and they wouldn't even know it. Nice. It healed.
And how do you care for it after? Say you're completely done all 3 sessions, everything looks great. How is the aftercare afterward? Do you also need follow-up, touch-up visits down the road?
Yeah, I mean, most people come back in for a refresh every couple of years, maybe just for a single session thing. It's not like a whole redo or anything like that, just because it lightens over time. I mean, if we were using a large amount of the pigment, it would probably hold like a regular tattoo was, but because the incision is so tiny, the skin, the body can break it down a little bit quicker. It's different for everyone and depends on their lifestyle, their diet, dry skin, oily skin, or just how they are in general. Yeah, I'd say usually a couple of years before they need a refresher. Aftercare, really simple. I mean, I say to guys, especially guys who've got a shaved head, I'm like, well, normally if you went out to play golf in the middle of the summertime, you'd wear a hat, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, well, wear a hat. Look after your skin the same as you would if you didn't have SMP, and it'll be good. So typically just put sunscreen on. If you moisturize, do that. It's really easy to look after.
Excellent. So I'm sold, but say you have a gentleman who lives in like LA and can't make the flight down to Vancouver. What would you recommend for them? What were action steps they should take to look for SMP locally?
Yeah, when you're choosing an artist, just really important that you have a look at the work they've done. Just look at their portfolio, go and have a chat to them, see if they're coming up with a good plan for you. Don't get the person who's trying to just sell you, because it's not an indicator that they're have your best interests at heart. You want people who are doing it because they want to help you, and not people just because they want to like take your money. Like anything, just have a look at their work and get a feel for the people. Go and have a talk to them and see how they are in person, and see if they're the kind of person you want to be hanging out with for maybe 12 hours, right? Because that's another thing. You do develop a bit of a friendship with these people because you're hanging out. I mean, I feel like I've got buddies all over Vancouver now because everyone I work on ends up being a friend. I know about their family. I've had a good chat with them for a bunch of hours. So it's someone you feel like you could hang out with too. And they're someone you'd want to associate with, because if you wouldn't want to hang out with them, I don't know if you'd really want them working on your, something that's very personal to you.
Right. And that's a genuine answer. I find that when you're like somebody or you're more friendly with people, you get better results with anything. And guys who are choosing something like this, whether it's a true tattoo like an arm sleeve or SMP, do your homework, research, and make sure that it's not just the cheapest.
No.
You get what you pay for at the end of the day.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, it's really important that you just see the work. And I'd say with SMP, because remember, it's different to regular tattoos. This is a problem that's affecting you. It's not just like, oh, I want a really sweet looking dragon on my arm. It's like, no. This is the problem. They've been looking in the mirror and it's been bothering you. So you got to find the right person to fix that. If that person's first thing they tell you is how cheap they can do it for,
right,
then, this is your appearance. A few extra bucks to get things done properly. I think that's probably a good investment. You don't want to be regretting things later because you want to save $200.
Definitely. So, Shannon, this has been very enlightening, and we're heading toward the end of our interview here, and we're going to be segueing to our E4Q. Exclusive. And that stands for the exclusive 4 questions we ask all our podcast guests to get personal insight about yourself. And we're going to start off with question number 1. And I've seen your Instagram personally, and you've traveled all over the world. It's pretty amazing. And that's question number 1. Is there a place you traveled or an adventure you've done that you feel every man should experience once in their life?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, but if everyone should go to Iceland, everyone should see the Northern Lights, whether it's Iceland or otherwise. Standing out in the middle of nowhere, feeling like you're as far as you can get from everything in the world, and watching this kind of amazing natural spectacle. That's something I think everyone should check out in their life.
Excellent. I believe our last podcast guest, Mike from Go Tattoo Removal, actually said the same thing. He said it's it's gorgeous. He said that because things are being built and it becoming more industrial in those areas, he said visit it now before it becomes a place that has too much industry.
I mean, we've been a few times, and when we went originally, it's becoming more popular. And I feel like if you're going to see a really remote, crazy landscape, see it before they build all the crazy stuff. You don't want it to become super westernized where it's like there's McDonald's on every corner over there. It's nice to see it now.
Right. And so question number 2, is there a skill you possess or wish you possessed that every man should possess?
I feel like just in general, guys should possess just a bit of DIY kind of building skills. That's something I got from my dad, and it's been the most valuable thing. It's just to be able to, like, if I need something done, I could probably do it myself if I wanted to, just to have those problem solving skills to be able to like work on something in the backyard or fix the
toilet or
exactly. Just those
oil changes.
Skills. I think people should have a go at something before calling a professional, just to see maybe they can do it. If it's a little thing around the house, I think it's valuable, and it's such a good feeling of accomplishment if you do it yourself.
Right. That's a beautiful thing about YouTube. It's all out there. It's all out there to learn.
You know what? Everyone can become an expert in like 10, 15 minutes now.
Right.
Awesome.
So question number 3, is there an app on your phone that you use that you would recommend everybody use?
That's a good question. I'm not huge. I'm not always super experimental with my apps. The one I use mostly is the Sonos app.
Sonos.
To play music through my house or my studio. That would be my number one go-to. Most used app. And Tile I got recently. One of those things so I can find my keys. The Tile app, you can press it and the Tile rings. That's a favorite of mine too.
So what piece of advice right now, and this is our last question, would your older self give to your younger self? Let's say about 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think just, hey, don't worry so much. Just rather than sitting around procrastinating about things you might do or maybe you want to do, just try things. Just have a go at things. You're better off trying things and it not working out than sitting there and wondering, what if I did this? And 5 years could go by and you're still sitting there procrastinating when you could have just tried something. Hey, maybe it didn't work, but maybe it will work. And I used to worry a lot about stuff and what am I going to do with my life, that kind of stuff. But hey, I tried to do SMP. I decided, I'm going to give that a go. And it was getting out of the comfort zone for me, and it's worked out beautifully. Now I got my dream job. I have a job where I get to help people out all day and be my own boss and do pretty well out of it. So yeah, that would be it. Just don't worry so much. Just give things a go.
Shannon, thank you for your time. This has been very enlightening. So gentlemen who've listened to this, or even the ladies who are listening to this podcast, make sure you follow Ink Barber on Instagram and check out their website. It's inkbarber.com, and they have a good library of pictures before and after. And you are also starting a new YouTube channel. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's just kind of due to demand. We realize that a lot of people, that's how guys are doing their research now. A lot of the time, it's not something, because it is kind of one of those things that I don't want to talk about. YouTube is one they can do in the comfort of their own home, and they'd rather watch videos about it. So we're going to start up our channel. I was going to start a couple of years ago, and now I was like, okay, I need to get on it, because we realized that I did some work for a guy who is a well-known YouTube channel, and I probably received more business from him talking about it than I ever have from any other format. People are definitely looking this stuff up on YouTube. So I got to get a channel, and just to be able to tell people, to help them, even if it's not coming to us, just to be able to how to find a good artist and to show them some examples and what to look for and what to look out for, kind of thing.
That's a great idea. So if you're in the area of Vancouver, BC, guys, make sure to visit Shannon and the crew at Ink Barber. Shannon, thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll get you on the podcast again once you have your YouTube channel up and running.
Yeah, I'll let you know how it's going.
All right, great.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, you're welcome. We'll see you again. I'm so glad this podcast was started, because that was very fun and informative interview. I had no idea about scalp micropigmentation and learned so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast too. Thank you again, Shannon, and everyone. Be sure to add Ink Barber to your Instagram and check out their website at inkbarber.com. Man, what a creative and memorable name, Ink Barber. Guys, so be sure to tune in next week for another episode of our podcast. Until then, go out there and make it happen.
Thank you for listening to the Expert Advice for Men podcast with your host, Belltown Radley. If you enjoyed our show, make sure to rate it 5 stars, leave a positive comment, and share it with your friends. Your support means everything. Until next time, this is the Expert Advice for Men podcast.